Peace, world. How you doing? This your brother Mikey Fever. It's been a while. I missed you all. I'm back. Your brother's busy. Got projects going on and everything, so I missed you, but it feel good to be back. We got our special guest, as always, a member of the NYP family, Dr. Paul Dyer in the building. What's up, Dr. Dyer? I think he froze up for a second. Well, I'm happy to see you all. Happy to see everyone out here today. There you go. What's up, Doc?
How you doing, Mikey? How you doing?
I'm good, my brother. How you feeling, man?
Sorry about that, folks. I tell you, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
You good? You good? You good,
It's
doctor?
been a couple of busy weeks, you know.
Yes. Extremely busy and trying, but we stay focused because sometimes you need to get somebody to tug you back to get you back in the game. Shout out to brother Ron Brown. In tonight's show, trust me. Listen, sometimes things get throw you all over the place. You just trying to get your footing right, so it feels good. Tonight we're talking about inside the human brain and how it works,
You,
anatomy and
you know,
physiology.
so here's the you know you say it again. You broke up.
I said, I'm here, bro. Go ahead. I'm here.
No, you broke up. You were saying we were talking about what today?
I said we were talking about inside the human brain and how it works, anatomy and physiology. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you can. So someone had came up with a question of how does our brain keeps us safe? And that's a great question because I don't know if you can see that, Mikey. I have a slideshow that's in the inbox, so let that be played. There it is.
There we go.
So, but before we get here, um, one of the things that when we talk about how the brain and our physiological keeps us safe when we're in a danger process, right?
Hmm.
Some people feel danger in all kinds of ways. Um, I I don't know if I should. What do you think about the word danger? Because some people don't feel they're in danger, which is why they may produce unhealthy acts, right? You
Exactly.
have a person that will charge at someone or um, be offended by someone and then want to fight them, and they don't know who they're fighting. They don't know the type of person they're fighting. They don't know the type of situation they just put themselves in.
Hmm.
They don't, they're just so emotionally charged with their emotional reaction that they're putting themselves in harm's way. It's almost like I'm angry, so the burning building's burning, and I'm gonna run into it. That
Just
seems to
lash out.
be done not as often because it's so visual. Burning building's so visual, but the human interactions are not visual. Most people don't know how to understand who they're talking to, and it doesn't matter what your emotional state is. Recognize the situation that you're in, and it might end in a death situation, but not a healthy life choice, if that makes sense.
Now you make sense. You're basically saying just being reactionary, no emotional intelligence to evaluate or get a full scope of what's going around. They're not aware. Is that safe to say?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so when we talk about people's and their reaction, and I love teaching people about reaction and teaching this stuff, and even working with people who what you call operators, who are first responders and things like that, they don't react on emotions. They react on understanding, right? It's a thought process. There's a thinking, there's a thought, there's an understanding of the situation, and with action. The only way the action changes is if information changes, and then they have to come up with a new plan, right? So I always say you have information, you have plan, and then you have an action. The only thing that would change an action is the information,
Gotcha.
right? So I don't know if people understand their emotional states when they're responding, whether it be in a direct message or an email or a physical visual interaction. They're not understanding their process. And so they believe, and that's the tough part, they believe in their illusion state of their own emotional reality.
So, is it safe to ask a
They
question? Does this go back for those for those certain people that haven't studied neuroscience? Does that goes back to that?
No, but you don't have to study neuroscience. You almost have to study yourself. Like
Okay.
you're so attached to your emotions that it creates a false reality of the situation. Now, if you're by yourself and you have an emotional connection to your reality, it only affects you. It could affect you negatively or positively, but it will only affect you. When you're in interaction with one other, meaning outside of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you're only basing your actions off of your connections to your emotional state, that is the false reality.
Mm. So it comes down to your perspective and interpretation on what information you're receiving from the outside stimuli, basically.
Correct. But if you're not taking into account anything else,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're by yourself, you have to take into account all the physical objects, or those do have a factor. But if you're with, like I said, anything outside yourself, another person, you have to take what their process is into account in your actions.
Which could be very difficult at
Yeah.
times
Yes.
because it
Right.
may it may affect the other person differently. Like what I may take as offense or not as an offense, the other person would take it as, and then trying to bring it to my understanding for them to break it down for them to properly digest what I'm trying to deliver could be conflict because they will take it as if you're as in a perspective of you're challenging them.
Right. Right.
Okay, that's
Right.
deep.
And the funny thing is that it's funny how it's not funny, but from a behavior science standpoint, it's actually quite odd for me to see people who are offended with something else outside of them, but they're not offended by what they do. It seems to be like it's almost like it's troubling. Like, so if someone is offended by someone cutting them off in a car, right? We'll go with some road rage. Road rage is so prevalent, right? But
Exactly.
they'll do the same thing. They
Yep.
will cut they will cut someone off, and they won't think about their personal reaction
Mm-mm.
if they did it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That seems odd. That seems so strange to me, how people can look at a whole action that they will do as offensive when they do it.
Hypocritical. Double standards. Don't do it
It,
to
it
me. Mhm.
is it hypocritical, or they're just not thinking about what they think about when they do it?
I think
You know what I
hypocritical
mean?
because I believe some people are
Really?
conscious. Some people are conscious of what they're doing. They are conscious, and sometimes they will react with anger when confronted about it. If they want to be honest about it, they will agree, say, "I have done something wrong." You
Mm.
know, or they will just sit down and ponder and be like, "You know what? Maybe I was you know, hold yourself accountable, but some don't. You know,
So I think if we could just get more people to think about their actions and how they would respond to it. That's all. You don't have to think about how I respond because you're not going to know because you're not me. But how would you respond? And if you could still do the action and have a non-negative response, then I can see why you continue to do it because you don't mind it and it's okay. And if someone did to you, it's okay and you don't mind it. But if you have a negative response to it and continue to do it, and like you said, Mikey, if they do it consciously and they know they would have a negative reaction and they don't care about another negative reaction, I think that puts a person into a very dangerous category. I
psychopath.
mean, yeah, I mean it's a dangerous category to fall in there, right? Because that means you have no compassion for anything else. And that falls into a lot of sociopathic, psychopathic ways. And that's a dangerous part to be in um, because you're really heading for death, right?
You're right.
Either someone's going to put you to death or you're going to cause someone to put someone else to death. Either way, death is looming around you in a
Hmm.
very strong atmosphere.
Both socially and physically. So,
Right.
so that's crazy. So I see you got this chart up, right? Social
Yeah.
engagement, and we see this chart has the vagus nerve.
The
Can you break that
Vegas.
down? The vagus nerve. Can you
So
break this down for us?
so if people can see my yellow arrow, I don't know if they can, but right here in this yellow part of this picture, it's signifying it going to the back of the brain or in the brain. Okay. And the vagus nerve is the longest nerve that runs through the body. As you can see, it also it's connected to the heart and it'll go down and is connected to all the organs also. The
Hmm.
one other thing about this is that the vagus nerve also sends a lot more signals to the brain than the brain to the heart. So we are so much wrapped into our emotions, and that triggers what we might think, right? So
Hmm.
instead of going from thinking to the heart, we often go from the heart to the thinking. That's why we're
Mm.
able to rationalize our emotions. We're able to rationalize how we do and what we perceive things. So with that, we have what you call the physical protection of the brain. So we have the skull. We have another layer, the meninges, cerebral spinal fluid. Now, this is where concussion comes into protocol when we talk about the physical protection of the brain. When that gets shaken up, the fluid gets disrupted. That means signals get disrupted. That means a lot of what you call registering the processor that goes along in here because
Hmm.
of the damage that happens to the brain. It happens. But here's what happens when we come what you call into our reaction. This is look. I did this little
Yeah,
comical thing called the brain smoke detector. It's
that's
the
cool.
amygdala, right? It's the amygdala that's detecting danger. Now, the
Mm.
reason why the amygdala detects danger is because we've talked about this before. It's the oldest part of our brain, and it's only concerned with survival. So anything you talk about survival, that's the only thing it's concerned with. It's not concerned with logic. It's not concerned with reasoning. It's not concerned with creativity. It's not concerned with nothing but
Fight or flight.
fight or flight.
Got you. The reptilian brain. Got you. As they said it. Got.
Correct.
All right. So that amygdala, the being that we know, like it just detects things automatically. Can the amygdala somehow make a wrong decision? So, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but
Yes, it does. It
false
will. It
alarms.
can. It most often, if you allow the amygdala to make a decision,
Hmm.
it's going to more often be wrong.
Mm. So with military training, being that you have background in that, is there a process where they destruct your amygdala and mold it a certain way to reconstruct
Yes.
it?
So we don't reconstruct it. We train so hard to be a thinking person in combat than a reactionary person in combat. That takes training. That takes being taught. That takes being put into places and spaces.
Mm.
Places and spaces where your amygdala just wants to take over, and you're like, I just want to run and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't, because you could be running into gunfire. You could be running onto a mine. You could be running into a bad doorway where more bad people are at. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to train, and be put into those um, that situation where where now the term or the metaphor says pressure creates diamonds. This is
Yeah.
where the diamonds created is to not adhere to the amygdala, but to perform in the prefrontal cortex where reasoning and developing and creativity is. You don't that amygdala may be the fire, but you got to pressure yourself into saying, I need to stay here. I need to think. I need to figure this out. I need to be deductive reasoning and come up with a solution. Even though that amygdala is like a fire alarm ringing, like a school fire alarm, it is so ringing so loudly in your brain, it'll make you want to shut down and say, the hell with that, I'm just going to do. And that's the danger part. But that
Gotcha.
pressure that creates that diamond is where you hold back that illusional state of your false reality, thinking that you are going to do something better than a thinking thought process.
Gotcha.
And training because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how people could do things well at all without training, practice, and doing. I don't know. You don't do. We train so you train so hard as a soldier, and you make so many mistakes in training and practice, so you don't make a mistake out there downrange.
Yep.
People don't train enough on their own to not be reactionary and response to their emotional state, so they go out and do so many stupid actions like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pissed off at this and let me run up against the biggest dude I can find and fight
Mm-hmm.
them because I can fight. I don't
Yeah.
care. It doesn't. You're not thinking rationally, right?
Mm-mm.
So that's what's going on right here. And then with the hypothalamus,
Mm-hmm.
this is where it controls your breathing, your regulation of your pulse and your heart rate and all this. This is why breathing is so important. This is why meditation is so important. It's to
Yes.
bring that alarm system down, because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't regulate that alarm system by techniques, training in the techniques,
Mm-hmm.
then you're just going to rush into stupidness.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. It's so true because I noticed that when people make these drastic decisions when they lose their cool and then they black out is because they lost control of their breathing. So you're not getting enough oxygen in your brain. You're not monitoring your breathing. You're just being reactionary. You got cortis. Cholesterol is released to your body. Cortison's
Cortisol.
released.
Yeah,
Cortisol, pardon me. Cortisol release, and then it's that the adrenaline is rushing. So you're not thinking. It's just that you're just in that fight or flight, and at that moment, depending on the environment and how you process everything, you're just gonna react. And then, as you mentioned, either you go to prison or you lose your life, or you take someone's life
right.
at that moment. And what is also, it just destroys everything in that process right there. So with that being said, with the brain, is there a way that you could give somebody who doesn't have, like, for instance, the finances to get the proper training, something that they can do on their own to learn how to release that tension?
So the short answer is no. And the reason why I'm going to say no, I think people need to take a value or have a value in who they want to be. And what I mean by this, people have favorites in something. They often do. And their favorite, whatever it is, they will make sure they'll make time to either get it, have it, do it, or use it. Whatever their favorite is. And so whether it be they like sports, they make sure they have a sports channel on their visual TV, right? They'll make sure they'll have those channels so they can watch their favorite team. They'll make sure they'll have their cup of coffee. They don't have to go to these coffee shops, but I bet you they'll buy their favorite coffee and make their favorite coffee. So they create a value for themselves and what they're going to do. This is also something that is valuable. If you don't see value in it, then you're stating that you don't have value in your life for health and safety. Because to train in this will create a better health and better security, not only for yourself, but for all your loved ones.
Got you. I got you.
So I can't, there's no way of giving this away for free, but there are minimal ways of getting the training. You just have to seek them out and go ask those questions to those people. That's it. I don't, yeah, I'm a martial artist. Yeah, I do a lot of things. I do teach shooting, teach all these other things for safety and protection, but I also teach emotional response reactionary. I there's a class to it. There's weeks to it. There's reading to it. There's things I'm going to have you do to learn and to train it. It's not just do this and you'll be fine, because it has to be implemented into a process of training and learning. That takes time. So I'm not going to shorten your value by shortening the response, because I value you. Yes. I value human life. And I'm going to tell you also the value human existence.
So I respect what you're saying. You got to take them from A to Z, the steps, front and back, knowing that, the triggers, why is it triggering you and such, how can we resolve it, knowing thyself, knowing the science behind everything. So that's true. I respect that. We say with the amygdala and the hypothalamus brain system, are there other components in the brain that
there is, but so and you mentioned this, the fight or flight, and this is the whole process is the parasympathetic calming break. That's why I wrote it there. You have all this alarm going off, and over here to the right, you see what's happening to the physical body. You have heart rate increase. You'll actually have a heart rate decrease. You will have blood pressure increasing, respiration increasing. So all this tightness going on, all this
it's like overtaxing.
Yeah, but it's a force, because the force can be used to a positive. And I think that's something that people, like, you can take this action that is so explosive, and when you learn how to turn it on in the proper situation, in the proper response, it's like putting nitro into your car. You're going to go so fast and so strong, but if I put nitrous in a car to a person who can't drive, it's just going to speed up that car and they're just going to wreck. Exactly. But if you put this energy into a driver who's been training at driving and explode that explosion in the right direction, it's that much powerful. So that's where the positive of this comes in.
I got you.
You just got to learn how to control that explosiveness and learn how to turn it right on the dime when you need to get to a spot. Otherwise, it's just going everywhere and it's not being directed. And that's the negative part, whether it be focusing on your new business, focusing on a new venture or a new romantic relationship, wherever those things are, you can focus that energy into one direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's intensity. And that's what we also call mental intention, because that
Mm.
will drive you to that success story.
The next level. Got you. So this the fight or flight, and the increased blood pressure and increased respiration, and the negative. I see. To me, I see negative there. I'm glad that you put it in context of being positive on the intention, but I mostly see like the negative that affects a lot of people, where people will fall into like having heart attacks, cardiac infarctions,
Yep.
eh,
Yep.
because it's an overtax on the body. The pupil may dilate. That with anger, it's a lot, man. This anger thing so close to danger. A lot comes out of that, So
And I think it's not so much just the anger. I think it's the emotional attachment to what we think our reality is. That's the confusing part for people. The illusion of our personal perception is our reality. And if you don't recognize that whatever you're thinking is just an illusional state and not a truth to the collective, then you have to start thinking about other people.
mm. Or
If it's
it's like a bliss, a false high.
right, but
You
if
think
it's
for it.
just for yourself, have your personal high. But
Mm-hmm.
when you start to have a connection, that's why this is still a social. That's the key word, meaning something other than yourself. It's in a social and emotional safety. You have to think about other people and how you're responding to something. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're not thinking about someone else, then you're going to cause a negative state in the environment that you're in always.
But what if someone has like a difficulty, a block is just preventing them from actually going through these things?
Yeah, and they do, and we do. And there's several people that will and have. You, most of them are in prison. Um, the rest of them are running away from the police. The rest of them have an avoidance of taking care of responsibilities. Some of them are finger pointers. The others always like chaos. So that names a lot of people. So that's what
Yeah.
if you don't have that, you're one of those people. Or how about this? This is what's crazy. Or somehow you became a CEO, an executive of a company that you're running, and you have so much money, you don't care how many people you cause harm to because you're willing to step over them. And you know who has that same type of thing, which he also ended up in prison, was Sean Combs. Those type of people also
Mm.
have a dysfunction. But because they thought they make so much money, they thought they do so much things, they become untouchable. Well, they're predators. I don't care how much money they are or how much money they have, they still have a social, they still have a what you call a social, emotional, destructive state.
Mm. Speak on it. And what created that though?
Creation comes from many things. Creation comes from just some of the factors. It can come from environment.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the factors can come from people who touched you, meaning
I know.
who taught you,
Mm-hmm.
who you listen to, and that could be part of your environment. And some could be experiences, but again, the experiences you have were negative is probably from the environmental state. Um, so I think sometimes we get into the short answer is nature and nurture, right?
Yes.
So that is where you were a sapling or a seed or you were newly formed in that situation, and it just enhanced what you are innately are, or it produces something that you had to become. But here's the thing, and I don't want to be remiss by saying this. There comes a time where you have to learn how to make a decision of who you want to be,
Mhm.
even throughout all those things.
I got you. So we're looking at the next chart of this social and emotional safety. We spoke about the vagus nerve. What is the
Mhm.
tone voice? The tone voice. If you get into that.
So as it comes down to the brain, back to the amygdala,
Mm-hmm.
into your voice, where your breath sounds with the hypothalamus and all that. So it really comes to how when it comes to regulation, this is where we have a lot, what you call chanting or sound vibrations, as we do in some of our meditation. That tonal voice creates a calming of the nerves and the cells. So it brings things down to an emotional regulation. So
Yes.
that's why when, as a Buddhist practitioner, we have different chants, and the chants are tonal. And just like with several prayers outside the Christian Catholic prayers, everything in prayer is tonal and vibrational in tone, because
Indeed.
it has the way it sinks into the body, the way it regulates the different nerve cells, the way it regulates the sympathetic system. It's
Yes.
all in that tone and vibration, creating that vibration. And doing that heals the vagus nerve, which
Mm.
allows the prefrontal cortex coming back into the brain. It allows it to have more rational reasoning, creativity of thought.
Yes. That's true. That's true indeed. But the vibration, the tonality of things, the musical instruments, like as the harp, the frequency of the heart, the vibration will tone somebody's hearts. The rhythm of their heart. It'll bring down any, as you mentioned, the tension and being that it's also scientific because our body is what I believe what 90 some percent of water, something like that, 70 to 90% of water. So of course the water holds a memory, fluid holds
Yes.
a
Yep.
memory. So yeah, the sound does play a part. So okay, so the tone of the voice. With that being said, we say the vagus nerve, the tone of the voice. Can the tone of the voice describes the person's emotional state?
Not the tone. Actually, the tone of voice can describe the emotional person. That's why when you're sitting with me and I'm listening to you, it's not just what you say. It's the vibration of how you say it, of where it comes from, how high in the chest it is, how you're breathing. All that takes an effect of what you call your health code. It's just part of the health code system of how, when you're sitting with a naturopathic person, they're picking up all these things that are would like to be worked on, but they have to teach it to you before they work on it. Like the piercing of the lips, the 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 expansion of your nose, because as you're speaking you become more hostile, so you need more oxygen, so your nose flares. So all these different physiological aspects to your body happens as you're talking or as you're being around a person.
All right, that's cool. Thank you, Dr. Dyer. And you said emotional regulation, right? Well,
Right.
well, okay, I got you. Common emotional regulation. So it's best to say that knowing thyself beyond your name, knowing your communication, your way of communication, how you react, how you breathe, your senses all plays a part in this. Gotcha.
Again, we would like to stress so much more on this. I love doing this. I love having this where people can go back, rewind, and hear it and talk about it. But if they're not taking reservation into wanting to learn more, then they're going to remain stuck in who they are and what they are not becoming, if that makes sense. And then they're going to be frustrated with why they haven't changed anything. But I think now in a civic society, we know that change doesn't have to come as slowly as you think it does, because training and practice comes very fast and very hard. Change may come slow, but the training in it is immediate. The practice in it is immediate. And those are immediate gratifications. And you can set immediate goals to keep moving forward. But the big change can't come without that. And I don't see how someone is wanting to be better at their physical prowess, their physical perception, their without training. I don't see how anyone can be emotional, regulated, even in tough situations, without training. I don't see how people can be more intelligent without reading. You know what I mean? You can watch all the movies in the world, but reading does something differently to the brain than it does watching TV. You can watch the book by verbatim and still not get as much out of it as you if you read it. Now then it comes comprehension, and that also takes work. We understand that if you read something you don't understand it, then you need someone to ask the question, like, I read this and I still don't get it. Well, that's where the training comes in, because that's where you ask your instructor. That's where you ask someone you trust and say, can you explain this to me? Absolutely, I'll explain it to you. Now you go read it again, and now you look at it. Because so many people take things for just at what someone else says and don't go back and do the research themselves. And there's a lot of people to do that, even with religious connotations. They listen to someone say things throughout the Bible, but don't do the reading of the context of why it was put in the Bible.
To have their own experience. They're just going off somebody else's experience.
Right.
They're not taking a walk. So I'm glad that, like, having you on this platform. We had you on here for about a year now. And everything you said is so vital, right? From my perspective, from what I come across, there's a lot of people I know that's dealing with personal trauma, childhood matters, right? Or or in not only childhood, but relationships whatsoever, and they haven't recovered from that. What can they do to learn to get to the next level, to learn how to heal? Because a lot of people I know on social media put on this mantra persona whatsoever, but you can tell deep down there's something that's affecting them.
Yeah.
But they just wear that mask. So how can they do the work to chip away at that, to chip away what's hurting them? Like, we could say take time and heal, the training, but what if they feel like there's no hope? Like,
people, you've heard me say it, go seek help, get therapy, go, all that. But besides all of that, I don't have the time, tons of reasons or situations. So write down what it is that you have anxiety over. Write down what frustrates you. Write down what angers you. Write down why you feel sad about whatever. Write it down. Now, after you write it down, ask the question to each of them and say, how did I get here? You're probably going to go with, I don't know, which makes sense. But you have to figure out how you got to this point. If you don't like string beans, ask yourself, why don't you like string beans? Well, it's the texture. Why does texture disturb you? It's string beans. It has something to do with something you created or something that was taught to you. You just didn't come out of your mother's womb disliking string beans. It doesn't happen. So something created you to not like string beans. There was an important situation that happened that struck you to not like string beans. Because when you are a child, There's nothing you dislike and there's nothing you like. You just take it in for information, nutrients, and knowledge. That's it. As you start to develop or be created, the environment adjusts your I don't like that. Maybe
Mhm.
because I looked up to my Uncle Bob and I never seen him eat string beans. Matter of
Okay,
fact, he told them, don't ever put that on my plate, and I want to be just like him. Right? So I'm not gonna like string beans. It's
I
as
got you.
simple as that. It's as simple as one time you were eating string beans and you saw your parents get into an argument. But as a young child, you are associating the action with action. I'm eating string beans and they're in an argument.
I got you. So basically, think your way out. You really got to get down to the core of things to think your way out.
Right. Like
Question.
so yeah, so if I don't I eat string beans, my parents will get into an argument. As an adult, they may sound ridiculous, but as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, kind of
Yeah,
makes kind of sense.
yeah. Impressionable mind, very malleable. So everything you just take at value, face value. Mm.
Exactly.
And what if some of the things that you dislike or what triggers you were subconsciously recorded into your mind? Like you think you're over it, but subconsciously it's etched into your brain.
For me, just being that combat soldier thing, I'm always aware of my triggers. I know where they extend from. I know for when it comes to relationships, the molestation of me being in a young boy, how that affected me and my thinking, and as far
Hmm.
as relationships. So I keep them in the forefront. I mean, I keep them right next to me. It's like a cue card.
Mm.
Like I question myself into things like if I am like I feel so unsettled, say under whatever it is, and I'm like, is this causing that? Oh, that makes sense. I could see the relation, and it's causing that. So because I'm thinking so fastly, I speak very slow. But when I come to my thinking, I'm like, oh, I don't want to associate this action with that.
Hmm.
So because this isn't that. So separating that in a thought process. I don't separate it in a reaction process immediately. I have to think about my emotional state and my reaction, then think about that reaction and then separate that. So there's
Mm.
three parts to it. Yes, I'm going to feel it immediately because that's our first emotional state is that we feel things more than we think things.
Yeah,
And then in that thought process, I separate it. Is this my emotional thinking or is this my logical thinking? So that's where I make the choice and split it. I understand my emotional reaction to it. It has nothing to do with this. So I'm not going to respond just because it's my emotional reaction. I'm going to respond to where I want to be what you call in the now state.
that's so beautifully said, Dr. Dyer. And I say that with enough respect to you because that's so courageous that you speak very forthcoming about your experiences, and that's why I think where people fall short at, they somehow make their trauma or whatsoever become their friend, where they become comfortable with that state of playing victimhood and well,
Mm-hmm.
woe is me, feel bad for me. The fact that you take it on the chin and just say, you know what, this is what happened. I experienced it. I hurdle it. Destroy that feeling that it gave me, that inferior that it could have done to me, and I made it a strength. Like so that, and I think it takes courage for people to overcome their trauma. Remember the other day when I spoke to you on the phone, I said I have experienced certain things that I've learned, like what I have gone through. Do I make it break me, or do I learn from it?
Right. Right.
So I think that's where most people get stuck at. They become very complacent, where they just be like, you know what, it's whatever. I don't have to deal with it.
And that's why most people don't and we say most people because we're generalizing this because we don't want to be specific to anyone because individuals have they do care or they do respond in a proper way, um, but we don't give enough joyful congratulations to our first responders or the people who go into danger where you will not, because you take a firefighter who loses they're in they're they're with a firehouse, um, they're on a fire and one of their friends happens to die, fall through something, or maybe they don't die and they fall through one of the floors because it burnt out, or something falls on them, or something very tragical happens, right? They have to not only get over it, but they have to understand that this thing happens and yet go back into another fire to do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
We
They
don't
got
give
them.
these people enough credit and enough health care to say, I need to work this out because it's traumatizing. But yet, when that bell rings, I'm putting on my suit. I'm
Checking it.
going, I'm getting on that truck. You couldn't get me off the truck. And I'm going back into a place where I saw one of my closest and best, whatever firehouse buddies throughout the camaraderie, and I'm going to do what I do. Firemen, police departments, first responders, military personnel.
Yep.
We lose life all the time, and yet we still put on our stuff and go right back into it. And we don't get enough credit about that being tearing down of our fabric of our emotional state. And yet, because then we see people, what really triggers us, we see people that are so disingenuous, people who are so uncaring to each other on a daily basis. It hurts my soul.
Mm.
That's one of my triggers. I don't mind going into combat because I know you won't. Not because I go because you won't. I go because that's how I was built. But
Exactly.
then coming back home and see someone who don't opens the door for a young lady, or who's wearing their pants all saggy and disrespectful. Those things are triggers to me because I'm fighting for a country that can be so much purposeful, and yet there's so much internal destruction on just behavior alone.
I'm glad you said that. And what's so crazy is that the same battles that you face on the field, how you was built, and as you said earlier, prior to that, that they constantly on the go, no matter what. There's no compassion.
Mhm.
People, everyday people within these urban communities face the same thing, not on the same grand scale, but constant battle.
Mhm.
You know, misfortunes, some warranted, some unwarranted, losing a friend, bad luck upon bad luck, and they just that's all they know. Like the guys in the streets, the hustlers, that's all they know is like I have to get money this way. I got to eat. That's the only thing I know. So to give time to a first responder or somebody who was living off the street to
Yeah.
pull them away from that environment, just give them a moment to breathe, could do a whole great deal for them. It could
A
just,
whole great deal.
the constant trepidation, just constantly going at it, and it's like every day. This is why when they say mental health month, I believe it's a marketing scam for many, because some are
It
not
is.
genuine.
It
Because
is.
we see
It's
men.
it's like it's like the word mindfulness. If I hear
Mhm.
mindfulness from people, I just want to throw up. I do. I want to. I sometimes you want to hear violent in me. I want to punch people in the throat when people say we just have to be mindfulness. You have no idea what you're talking about if you've never studied the human existence and being mindful. I mean, now we use as a coin phrase to sell soap. This will help you be mindfulness. Use this cologne. It's mindfulness. It's
Yeah,
use. It's so now it's a commercial phrase
yeah,
that it hurts me because it takes people away from the actual work of being mindfulness. It takes work. Soap doesn't do it. Cologne doesn't do it.
no,
Incense doesn't do it. It takes training to be mindfulness. I don't care how many massages you get or chiropractic care you get or whatever relaxing treatment you may get. It takes training to be
mhm,
mindfulness.
to care.
So, yeah. So it's like trying to be strong without working out. It's ridiculous.
It's not gonna work, and that's what I'm saying. Because the way society rewards men, like rest in peace to my grandfather.
Mm.
They always say men back then were different. They could have one leg and they still going to work. They could be sick. I'm like, you don't know what kind of wear and tear that was doing to him, mentally. Even the mothers, like she's a strong. Like I I understand that term as saying strong black woman. as they
Yeah,
say,
we need to
strong
get
man.
rid. Yeah,
Yeah, we need to get rid of that because
we need to get rid of it.
you're gonna burn out. You could be strong
Yep,
all day, and trust me, I've been there. Being supported for everyone, being that shoulder to cry on. And when it was my time, when I had my moment, I was alone.
yep.
I had to figure it out on my own,
Hmm.
and that's not a good place to be when you got to sit down on your own and because you're being strong for everybody because you got to wear that mask. I'm a man, and not knowing inside you could be dying.
And then when we say strong black women or strong, I think, us men, we need to take all that strength that the women have had to need and have, and really take that as a dishonorable badge. Because the reason they had to be is because we were not.
Exactly.
Now, you could say the reason why they had to be is because we were taken away in the slavery years, and that is
Yeah.
true. And it's taken us a while to recover, but it should not taken us 300 years to figure this shit out and say we need to be a lot better.
No, it's a fact. No, it's true indeed. There's a whole lot of healing needs to be done, and this is why it's important to have you here. And for those who are listening, you can check out Dr. Dyer. You can look out for him. He has programs running. This guy is very incredible, very compassionate, diligent about his work. So if I were you, I'll reach out to Dr. Dyer. Email us, and we will forward your emails over to Dr. Dyer, and from there, he'll take care of you. He'll tell you what's the next steps because what he's offering is very real. We
And I think people are still, we say this with an open heart, and I can't tell you how much I would love. I say it with such an open heart. I think people are worried about I can't afford Dr. Dyer. I can't afford this. I'm not sure if you can afford not to. And how about this? People who drive a car. People who drive a car. You probably have car washed your car more than you have washed your emotional state.
Ooh, ooh, bars,
Right?
bars.
So let's put something more in importance here. I'll stand you next to your car. And if I ask which one you want me to shoot, which one would you think you would pick? If you pick your car, that says that you should be doing more for yourself. If you're that in love with the car and you say, shoot me, don't shoot my car, that makes sense why you wash your car so much.
That's a fact. I like that. Nah, for real, Doc. And I appreciate you, man, because watching when I go back and watch the shows, not only I'm interviewing, I listen. You drop a lot of gems that are very important. And I see the world itself needs a lot of healing. I'm gonna keep repeating that. We need to do better within our community. We need to get rid of those narratives of like again. I'm all for my people being proud, strong, and whatsoever, but don't be strong and wrong and foolish. You understand? Practice humility, love,
how,
care.
how about this? Don't be strong, wrong, and not vote.
Mm,
How you in your social environment are being constructed by the people you don't know who they are in your public office.
bunch of maniacs in public office. I
You know,
realize
the mayor, the person running for the mayor of New York, the one person is dangerous.
who you talking about.
He, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to promote him, but
Yeah,
he is not Eric Adams.
no doubt.
Okay, the other one, he's dangerous. He is so dangerous. Eric Adams may not do things well. You may have not liked what he's wanted to do or whatever. But the other one, if you're not emotionally and socially engaging into what's going to happen into your state, your community, your legislative, don't be strong and wrong by not doing the right thing and helping out your community by voting for the right person. Don't do disservice and not voting because you don't care. That's
Can I be honest?
strong and wrong.
Can I be honest with you? I was wrong and strong for the presidential thing, and I'm gonna tell you from my perspective why. I was observing, listening to both candidates and their policies, and
Mm-hmm.
from what I have seen over the years and studying. Not saying I'm astute completely, but just been studying, and I always say that we don't need politicians, and I'm speaking for my people to
Right,
guide
right.
us. If we had solidarity, unity amongst us, not saying we all monolithic, but if we had solidarity, goals, we could get things done. But we have a messiah like complex where we feel like we have to have one voice represent us. We're stuck with from different ideologies, from religion, political stuff, what community you can choose to mingle with. And you know how it is. Our people have been taught to vote one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm neither Republican or Democrat, but we've been taught like, yo, listen,
Oh, oh
my
yeah.
grandmother was Democrat, my great grandmom was a
Oh,
Democrat, so therefore I'm gonna vote for the Democrats because this person came to a black church and he said
yeah.
hallelujah, and I felt
Yeah, that's
victories.
crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. We got to stop thinking that one party, only one party, is the right party, and think about policies and procedures. If you're voting for a party, you're gonna hurt us. You just are. If you're not voting for policy and procedures or what they're going to implement,
Yeah,
then we're in trouble. But you said one thing that's really important. Because we don't have solidarity, we have to vote. How about that?
yeah,
If we had solidarity, you'd be correct. We could just run our own thing.
yeah.
But because we don't have solidarity,
Mm.
we have to vote.
We
So,
compete. We compete with each other.
yeah.
We compete with each other. We have a million black record labels. There's a million black. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying
Yeah, we
we have a
do.
lot going on. We have a lot
We
going on.
we have black ownership of this big corporation business and this big corporation business, and yet they don't hire blacks or they're not there to support blacks. Oh, wait a minute. We have this people opening up this and this people opening that, but we're not supporting that. I just don't get, we just don't have that singularity of thinking to move forward together.
It's that mental thing. And I'm gonna tell the listeners, go back and watch, and you will learn a lot from Dr. Dyer. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, super chat, share with your friends, tell them about NYP Talk Show, talk about Dr. Dyer, his services. He's there for his people. He cares. This guy has all the credentials, and you reach out to him. With that being said, Dr. Dyer, I want to say I appreciate you, my brother, for coming out here with us tonight. I appreciate the chat, our viewers and our listeners.
Our, our,
Right. You want to say something, Doctor?
Go ahead, family. I want to say thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next couple. I'm here every 2 weeks, and I'll be visiting with you later. You guys be safe, be kind, be compassionate out there, and do some education on your own. Be a self creator, so you can
Yes.
self create. The only way you can do that is by learning and getting educated. So thank you, people.
Peace and love. NYP, and we out. One.